Hi, everyone. Welcome to DomainSherpa, and thank you for tuning in to the podcast with the best domain name and digital asset content in the world. Today's episode is a DomainSherpa review titled Ain't No Mountain High Enough, featuring Shane, Ammar, and Josh. On today's show, we play the domain game featuring MountainHigh.com, ExploreAI.com, and CloudBank.com. And then we've got the NameJetGonnaJet segment sponsored by NameJet, and we talk about some domains coming up for auction, including TravelWell.com, LogoDesigner.com, Sunergy.com, and GSB.com. We also do a deep dive into the current state of .ai domains, and we also talk about where we think the future is headed. We also get away from domains a bit and talk about the French Open and what sport has the most complete athletes. But don't worry, we cycle back to domains and we talk about domain pricing, trademark issues, and more. All that is coming up on today's show. And remember, if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, you can also watch the video version at DomainSherpa.com and on our YouTube channel at ds.tv. You can also listen to the shows on Apple and Spotify and other podcast platforms as well. And please make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button everywhere that you can and help DomainSherpa grow the pie. We also integrate our shows with Muse.ai, which provides search functionality for the shows and transcripts as well. A huge shout out to DNWE, short for Domain Name Wholesale Exchange. It's a trading platform designed specifically for domain investors, streamlining the process of buying and selling domain names to make it quicker and easier. With a community of over 3,500 investors, DNWE enhances market liquidity, facilitating more efficient transactions with standard domain listings, reverse auctions, standard auctions, and the soon-to-be added portfolio auctions, including traffic portfolios. DNWE is part of EW3N, which is a family-run digital asset investment company based in London, England, that also operates DomainManage.com, which is a global sales platform, and Brandable.uk, which is a marketplace for UK and Co.uk domain names. And also, big shout out to Unstoppable Domains, the only ICANN accredited registrar that lets you trade DNS domains on-chain and access crypto investors. With 3% commissions at cost renewals and hundreds of resellers soon to be integrated, they're a cutting-edge marketplace you need to know about and use to get more sales and keep your costs down. Unstoppable can save you thousands in registration costs. They have $5.com Fridays and $5 off all transfers in. No promo required. And last but certainly not least, big shout out to our own business, MediaOptions, #1 domain brokerage in the world, ranked Domain Broker of the Year 7 years in a row by escrow.com. Find out more at MediaOptions.com, where you can also sign up for our newsletter for the best domain opportunities available in the market every week, and also featuring key insights and other helpful information related to branding, naming, and of course, domain investing. So with that, it's now time to get into this episode of Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. What's up, Sherpa Network? Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Jonathan Tenenbaum, a.k.a. JT, a.k.a. Jay On, a.k.a. Sherpa Winfrey, host and producer of Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Today's show is a Domain Sherpa review, where we get into the minds of successful domain investors using real examples so we can learn strategies and tactics to become more successful domain name investors ourselves. These are the experts, the OGs, the best in the biz, my personal friends. Glad to have them on the show. There's 4 segments to a Domain Sherpa review. We've got the grand opening. That's where I intro the Sherpas. We see what's going on with them, talk about some related things, some unrelated things. Then we get into the domain game. We hear what the Sherpas recently bought or sold. Everybody guesses on the price. We keep score, and eventually, somehow, some way, someday, get some swag to the winners. You know what I'm saying? Then we've got segment 3, which is NameJetGonnaJet, sponsored by our friends at NameJet. And we review a list of domains coming up for auction to see what the Sherpas like, what they don't like, all that good stuff. And then last but not least, we get GrandClosing, where we discuss anything we haven't covered already, what's going on in the domain space, and looking at the market trends, current events, and allowing our guests to mention and promote anything they want to talk about that we have not already discussed. With that, let's go ahead and introduce the Sherpas. Over to my right, I got my boy Sugar Shane, Shane Culture, a.k.a. Honey Shane, a.k.a. Mike Bro, a.k.a. Blame It on the Shane, a.k.a. House of Shane, a.k.a. the Blue Oyster Culture, a.k.a. the Culture Personality, Culture Club, doing it for the culture, in Shane in the membrane, in Shane in the blockchain, chain. What's going on, man? How are you?
Okay, I've had better days.
You frustrated today. You worked up, man. You're trying to
I am worked
right now.
Up.
You're in
like,
step 2 on your shirt, though. You're in
yeah,
step 2.
no. Yeah.
Wake up, kick ass, repeat. You
I had
currently
a good run this morning. So the morning was beautiful, and my stocks are down a little bit. I just got an email that said somebody missed their domain payment. I've never had anybody ever miss an installment. I don't like that shit.
Okay.
It's not the big boys, but it's still money's money.
Mm.
Find a little errors in some of my things I'm doing on my account. Some of my registrars are screwing me over. Stuff. Other than
Alright,
that,
well,
things are great, man.
we're gonna
Like,
name names. Are we naming names? We're just gonna
no,
keep
I'm
it.
not
We're gonna keep
naming
it
names. I'm
PC.
friends of the people, man. I support
All right.
everybody. But
So really, the shirt that you should have put on today was "Wake up, ass kicked, repeat." You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
that's
Or
or kiss
wake up,
ass.
kiss ass. Repeat.
Yeah, no, that's
Ooh,
exactly.
oh,
Did I mention that my wife's
Yeah.
on a business trip, so I'm all alone and helpless? Did I
oh,
say
that's how it works. You're like, I've been trying to cook my own stuff. No one, the dog
Literally,
is
like,
letting himself out. Like it's chaos right now. You know,
exactly. The dogs are like,
The
let
best
me
thing
out.
the
when I'm
dogs and
alone,
cats living together. Total
I go to
pandemonium.
I go to Whole Foods and get a rotisserie chicken, and
Oh,
that's
That's
just
it.
throw
that is
on
the play. Like
some salad, and I'm
that is
good.
a man's protein day. Like, and they're
Oh
so
yeah.
cheap. Costco's like $6. You go and
Oh
get
yeah.
the chicken. Oh, that's exactly right. That's that's the new ramen, right?
Yeah, it is. Rotisserie chicken is like that's good eating, man. I'll do that with like a bag salad, and then I'm like,
Right.
Yeah.
and then it's like
That's how you
that's
know
it.
if a man's by himself. Like if it's 5:30 and he's got a rotisserie chicken in his basket, he's all alone. He's all alone. You don't need a pineapple in the cart or whatever. The bananas turned up. Just look for the rotisserie chicken. That lets you know he's single or at least alone for the day.
So that's now is dating advice with Shane Cultura.
Exactly. If you want a single man, go at 5:30 and look for the rotisserie chicken.
I dig it, man. I dig it. All right. Well, look, hopefully we'll turn things around on the show today. You know what I'm saying?
It'll
It's
be good.
we all have those kind of days. Interesting about the installment payment piece, but you know that it happens, man. You have
We're
enough
not
of
out
those.
of they haven't canceled yet. It's one of those. It's
Yeah.
the
Well,
exact
I will say,
wording is just sharing equipment. Quick update: the buyer has missed an installment payment, but we'll continue to follow up.
They're not coming back.
that's the first, like that's the first step. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's like
exactly.
hey,
She's missed dinner. She's
not
not
you, it's
coming back.
me.
Yeah.
But hey, look, you got enough of them. It happens. We've got obviously we do a lot of installment deals and we've got a lot of that stuff. And, sometimes it can get a little weird though. Well, I guess missing one outright is one thing,
Yeah.
but somebody's changes a bank account or something. It depends how automated their stuff is. Perhaps they just, canceled a card or a card expired. You hope it's administrative and not, based on
Yeah.
actual fiscal challenges, because then that shit starts to get a little funky. But
Shane,
The
what number payment is it?
That's exactly what I was looking. Matter of fact, as soon as you said that, I was like, let me look at I'm trying to see how many we've got. Oh, not enough.
Yeah,
Not
if
enough.
it's in early enough, they're not coming back. If it's like, middle to past that, they'll probably
Yeah, it's fourth payment and out of 12.
well,
Yeah.
hey, you've got a couple payments in the bank already.
Yeah,
or
so I've
worse.
already got like 4,000 of a 10,000. I'm fine,
Yeah.
actually. So
Yeah.
it's not too bad. I just want more.
always want more. Hey, look, we'll see how it goes. All right, well, let's keep it moving because we're still rolling through the AKAs. To my lower right, we got my boy Josh Reason, aka Bjorn Borg, aka Prince Harry, aka Harry Kane, aka Prince Harry Kane, aka Slim Shady, aka Carlos Alcaraz. You know what I'm saying?
I'll take that one.
Yeah, so good.
I don't want to call you Sinner. Is that how you even say dude's name?
Sinner.
I'm like, man, he's like that's like a porn star name. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I was on my Hard Rock app with like betting, and I put a decent chunk of money on Sinner to win in 4 sets or less.
Oh, so you were probably sitting there.
You were looking good.
Dude, he's up a break in the third, and I'm like, God, I mean, he's just all over it. He loses the third. It's like, that's okay. It's all good. Like he's still playing well. Gets up a break in the fourth. He's up, and then he's up 5.
Points.
And then he's up 5-3, 40 love, and I'm looking, and I'm like, oh, it's all good. I'm just gonna wait for the money to hit in my account.
Yeah.
Wait for the money to hit in my account, and then I was already looking for the next bet, man. Looking for the next big one. I'm like, on my Sunday afternoon, and shit, man, and he loses the game, and then it's like it's all good because now he's serving for it at 5-4, and he's serving for it at 5-4. It's no big deal. Loses it, and then I'm like, oh shit, that's not good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't very happy with Yannick Sinner, but Alcaraz is the man.
Dude, that was such a match.
Oh,
Dude, talk about athletes. Andy Roddick had a hot take, and he basically said, if you're not a tennis fan, you might not like this, but he said that the top tennis players are the most complete athletes in the world.
Of course,
5.5 hours on court though, and I think he makes a good point, dude. Like you should see those guys.
Yeah,
I mean, you look, tennis, pickleball guys. I hear what
go
you're
with
saying.
Whoa! I'm not putting
decathlon.
pickleball anywhere near the same bracket as tennis, dude. Like
I'm
what
just
those guys
saying, if you're talking about the best athletes in the world, I think. Well, look, I think that's an
He said
excellent.
the most complete.
basketball, if you say basketball in the air conditioning for 45 minutes with
But I mean,
outs is anything
it's
compared to
tough.
a 5.5
Look,
hour
it's tough
match
because there's
outside.
timeout.
he said the most complete, not the best athlete. He said the most complete.
And that's a fair. So look, I think that's a fair question or a fair hypothetical. I think this is probably one that the sports podcasts will talk about, and and
This is the wrong
beat to death.
location.
Yeah.
This is like one of those barbershop kind of conversations, and I love this kind of stuff. In fact, without Drew being on here, we can actually have this conversation.
Oh, dude.
So, but the most complete athletes in the world are the tennis guys. I mean, I just naturally reject that because I'm not a tennis guy.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you think about, well, how do you define the complete athlete, right? Because obviously you can take LeBron James and put him up against Andy Roddick, and if they play one-on-one basketball, not going to be close. If they play tennis, it's not going to be close. So what is the sort of measurable or the arena that you can put them in to actually judge how you...
It's called the Olympics.
How you,
The decathletes, like 10 events, they have to lift, they have to jump. Like all those decathletes can dunk easy, no problem.
sure. Oh yeah,
Because they're jumping over
who's
7
who are
feet.
the best decathletes? I don't even know them.
Most people
names.
don't know them.
I remember Dan and Dave. Dan and Dave were in the mix for a while. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, if you're just talking like overall, they probably could play any sport well, right? Like they can run fast, they can jump fast, they're super strong, they throw, like they're probably, I mean, they are called the best athletes in the world, but I don't think they would win at any of them, right? Like they don't even have one sport other than track and field. But you saw like Duplantis, who's the world record high jump every weekend. They put him in a 100-meter dash against an Olympic 400-meter guy, and he crushed him. He's an Olympic. So I mean, I agree that these guys are super athletes and can play any sports, right? Half those basketball guys could be the best tight ends in the world. But I think overall athletes, I think we proved it in the Olympics, right? That's my opinion. Most likely. I think athletes the best
That's
overall.
reasonable.
Yeah, and that's actually a really logical way of breaking it down. You know what I mean? I mean, well, because it's interesting because you look at hand-eye coordination. Baseball players to be able to hit a major league fastball or even worse, a changeup or a curveball and send it 400 feet, into the parking lot.
I think baseball players are probably the lowest on the rung of professional.
Well, no, but I'm just saying very particular skills, right? And again, their hand-eye coordination is pretty wild, right? To be able to hit a baseball, a major league pitch is pretty crazy. And but I remember John Crook, who was the first baseman for the Phillies, and he got caught smoking a cigarette in the parking lot or something after a game, and some lady's like, I can't believe, you said a bad example as a professional athlete. He's like, ma'am, I'm not a professional athlete. I'm a baseball player. So, I do think that it is interesting that there's different sort of levels to it. And I mean, look, the tennis guys, they could definitely do some stuff. But, again, there's certain things also just to when you see the top basketball players, though, how some of these guys physically are so special. Like a dude like Victor Wembanyama, right? Who's 7? Is he 7'4" or something? And he's sprinting up and down the court. He's shooting threes. He's dribbling the ball behind his back and through his legs and shit like that. And I mean, you're talking 7'4". That is just such a dude. Looks like the what's the creature from fucking Stranger Things? You know what I'm saying? The Demigorgon. You know what I'm saying? Homeboy is his arms. He looks like Plastic Man. Seriously, some Marvel character shit. And So I think that's also an interesting thing. Like, so, we spent a lot of time in basketball gyms, and just like the physical sort of specialness of some of these athletes.
I think basketball players are probably the most physically
like gifted
superior athletes.
Yeah,
Right.
but here's the thing: some of these football players,
huh?
Some of these football players, like I was in, I tell this story a lot. I was in LA for, it was right around the time, maybe one of the traffics or something was happening in LA, and I was staying at the Huntley in Santa Monica, and I was in an elevator with JJ Watt, and JJ Watt almost like took up the entire elevator by himself. He looked like the Hulk. You talk about Marvel characters, like Homeboy just looked different. Like he was not, and I don't know. I mean, but how much does that play into again, this is what's your definition of complete athlete, right? You're talking stamina, hand-eye coordination, some other level of skill. But I think Shane kind of nailed it. I mean, the decathletes
we're seeing new levels of height and build and weight. Like we've got guys that are 230 pounds running 240 marathons. That means they're running sub 6 pace at 230 pounds. We're seeing tennis players at 6'8", 6'10", that move around the court like a guy that's 5'11", 6'1", but yet they get the speed and the angle of a guy that's 6'8". I mean, go look at a tennis team now. They're monsters.
How tall is Alcaraz?
He's smaller, but Sinner is 6'4" or something like that.
Yeah. And they get bigger than that. I went to University of Illinois. We have a good tennis team. They're monsters. They're big boys. Like any of those guys could play basketball for their height. So anyway, without going on a tangent, I just think we're witnessing, as me as an older person, if anybody says that to the older guys, the new guys couldn't compete with the older guys, none of them have a chance in modern day athletics. Like,
well, it's funny. We have these conversations.
We don't even have to. There's not an argument.
No,
we'll generally get smoked.
Well, we talk a lot about, all right, Kevin Durant versus Larry Bird, right? That comes up like, because, we do these basketball conversations, we've got these long trips and, we're always like, hey, and some of the dads are always like, talking about the players from our era, right, that we came up watching. And, and that is like the Larry Birds, the Michael Jordans and all this kind of stuff compared to like the LeBron James and Steph Currys and stuff. And, and the young kids are always like, those guys played against plumbers, like the older we get, the more that the plumber threshold moves up in time. Whereas like the plumbers, instead of being back in like the 1950s, now they're looking at it like, oh, the dudes that played in the 70s and the 80s were playing against plumbers, and that's not really the case. They also were playing with different levels of, like recovery and just the science
and training. Training science.
I mean, now, well, look, the kids like that are the athletes, the high school athletes here where I live, which is pretty competitive. These kids in every sport are getting to the point where you can really only play one, maybe two sports. It used to be like, oh, I'll play like, I do different sport every season and I'll play varsity and I'll be good. I'll start on the soccer team and start on the basketball team, and I could play baseball. Now it's like, if you're not super specialized, it's very hard to compete, even at the high school level, let alone college, and then obviously into the pros. So, the access to nutrition and recovery and training and all this kind of stuff has gotten wild. And each generation, there's probably a leveling up of just the baseline standard of health and stuff, and physical ability and physical tools. Plus now you have guys that like, what I'm seeing at the basketball level is a lot of the really good players are, children of like the sons of former pros, you know what I mean? So those guys even have a whole nother, because they've got the genetics mixed with a family that knows the drill. You know what I mean? This isn't like, and has the means to support that. Gilbert Arenas' son, who was in a terrible car accident, but I think he's going to be okay, knock on wood. But he's like a fantastic player. And like, he would talk about his routine. Oh, we wake up at 4 a.m. We we go to our own, like our indoor gym that we have at our house, and we train for 2 to 3 hours before he goes off to school. Some private school where he's basically probably spends half his time doing something that's athletic related anyway. So it's like, the games continue to change, the levels continue to rise, but it's interesting. And with AI, eventually maybe they'll be able to run some kind of simulations and things to really see like what would happen if you had Michael Jordan had said this recently, where they said, hey, how do you think you guys, the dream team, would do against the current like Olympic team? And he's like, I don't know, we'd probably win by 10 or so. And they said, and he said, oh, only 10. And he's like, well, we're all like 50 now, you know? So shout outs to MJ for keeping it real. And you know what I'm saying? But even the women's sports now, you know, but it was like something crazy. Angel Reese was like, oh, Brittany Griner in her prime could have beat Allen Iverson in his prime. And it's like, okay, now y'all need to slow the F down.
Record scratches.
Slow down, homegirl, because now you are way out of pocket. And because it's like, because I can tell you that, you know, there's players that I've seen here that could beat Brittany Griner in a one-on-one. No offense to Brittany Griner, she's a great player, but you know, let's keep it real. But anyway, all right. Well, good stuff. Good stuff. And but Josh, you good, man? You good? This all
I'm good.
started
I'm
good.
good. I'm good.
All right. Last but not least, below me, we got King Kuba, Ammar Kuba, aka Danny Ocean, aka the even greater Gatsby. Do not chase an unworthy dream, aka Marzan, aka Kuba Libre, aka LL Marj, aka Kuba Soze, aka Kuba Kinte, aka Selly Savalas. What's going on, bruh?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I always enjoy hanging with my homies, man, talking like non-domain stuff sometimes too, which is cool.
Right.
There is a lot of
and you get to actually speak this week because
that's what Josh was like, man, we can actually get to talk this show. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. No, but hey, shout out to Drew. He's off doing a little summer vacation stuff. We'll see him next week. But you know, it's all good. But yeah, man. Well, and look, there's a lot to talk about in the domain space. There's a lot going on. You know, stuff seems to just continually be popping off in a good way. There's a lot of good things happening. A lot of good things happening at DNX. Am I right? Am I right?
A lot of good things happening. Absolutely.
If you haven't signed up for the newsletter, make sure you do that. You know, what did you say? In the last week, there was 1.7 million changes to domain prices and availability and some other stuff. So it's like,
yeah, pretty crazy. A lot. I guess that's what we mean, right? There's always stuff happening.
Yeah.
Always stuff happening in the market. So, you know, 1.7 million either new names or, you know, changes in pricing. It's like all it takes is one of those names to
Just
you know,
takes
possibly
one.
to like make your
1.4 of them were mine. I was moving up all my 4 letters yesterday.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you know, the market is on fire. There's a lot of really, really good stuff happening. The .ai market is still on fire. I don't know if you guys caught on the show we did in Miami last week where Drew had said he, you know, he's starting to not walk back his stance, you know, but he's clarifying his position and saying, look, I still believe in my thesis that .ai becomes less necessary and less of a viable option when AI is more ubiquitous and it's kind of sort of baked into what so many companies are doing, that differentiating themselves and calling themselves an AI company is going to be redundant. But I think he does feel like he sort of misjudged the extent that this sort of wave was going to be, you know, and probably misjudged the demand of how willing companies were going to be to use that as their, you know, as at least their initial name, and how much they'd be willing to spend for those names, you know. Also, I think he probably underestimated the amount of, like, you know, the ability of James himself to sort of boost a market by himself, you know what I mean? Like, he's, you know, out there market
And
making.
don't forget about Andy.
I know, I didn't want to just I mean James and Andy, but you know, but you know, I don't want to say they're doing
real talk though, that this extension has been popping with end users for many years, not just the last like year or 2 years that we've all been talking about it. Like, when I was looking at these names in 2020, the best names were all in use already. Like this extension has been popping for a long time. So it's not, you know, people say, you know, Andy and James and you know, Namecheap and whatnot that pump in the market. You
can't, the second round.
Yeah, exactly. You can pump the market at a wholesale level, but you can't pump the market at a retail level. Like, retail loves .ai.
There's a really good article by the founder of Urban Spoon, Adam Doppel. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm butchering it, but he wrote a really good article on how he went the day it all came out and got a lot of the AI names. Like, used a computer program to get them. Like, he was day one on a lot of these extensions, and it's interesting to see that those people were going after things that we're talking about them now in a different scenario. There was not the action, yet they were spending tens of thousands of dollars at $74 a renewal, seeing this market. So it takes multiple rounds, right? It takes the people that believe it early to take up names and make scarcity. It takes the second round to have some names sell at good prices. So it takes all these different levels, and Drew can still be right and get in at level 3. He just doesn't make anywhere near the money he made at level 1 or level 2 for the price. But there's also not the risk, right? There's also not. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's a different kind of risk. It's a risk that the market fades. But you know what I mean? It's like it's not a zero. Like when Adam came in, that could have turned into nothing, and he could have lost every single dime. I don't think you're going to lose every single dime you invest now. I think we've proven.
I still think that really interesting $1 million question, or in this case, probably $10 million question, is if a company gets to a certain level on a .ai, are they, and assuming the .com is available, are they going to upgrade, or will they live their entire existence on .ai? That to me is, because I have a few .coms of companies that are on .ai that have been raising, and I just wonder if they just stay on the .ai, or do they eventually want to upgrade?
I think they stay, but I think they add, right? Every smart company wants to own their asset, their brand. So I think they're wise and add the .com, but you're already seeing some people forwarding.
Well, it's not going to be an ad, though. I mean, we're talking here 7 or plus figure. That's not an ad. You're saying they're going to spend 7 or 8 figures and just
if they're a $1 billion company, yeah. If they're a unicorn, yeah, I think they do. I think their brand's that important that they spend a tremendous amount. It's nothing in the course of, that's a commercial. If they go,
yes, but we all have those names that we say, oh yeah, they spend this much. I
know, but
right?
And they do usually get the companies that spend $1 million on their commercials generally do buy the better names. You don't see too many on shitty names.
I can speak otherwise, that I have names that people are spending tens of millions of dollars a year on commercials, and they don't.
And you have the .com, and they're on a different. Yeah, I think that's. I mean, obviously there's exceptions to it, but I don't know. I mean, I do think that AI is strong enough that if that's what they do, they're going to stay. I mean, AI helps them raise. It helps them draw more attention. It's better to be on AI than .com for some.
Right, but that's because we're new into AI. So my question,
yes, I agree.
5-10 years from now, when AI is ubiquitous, as we all agree it will be, and I think that's the basis for Drew's thesis, right? Then it's no longer an AI company; it's just a company. So do they stay on the .ai?
Yeah, and I think that's, I think that is a great question, and that is when the rubber will meet the road, and that if the thesis of, hey, it's a sort of, call it more of a wave or a bubble that is going to somewhat level off and whatnot, and obviously it's going to be a case-by-case basis. And I think to Shane's point, the more successful, the bigger, the more that they're sort of, call it like a legacy company, at heart, or they're funded, or however I think for some of them, they'll continue to exist on the AI and just let it roll, especially if it's just depending on how their business rolls and what their stakeholders think. But obviously there's also going to be plenty that will want that upgrade in order to really lock the brand down. Some of this will also depend on how some of the, sort of the internet evolves, right? Because if you're saying, hey, this is now a 2-year window instead of a 6-month window or a 5-year window. Well, now we don't know. I mean, who knows what, how important is the .com in 5 years? I mean, our belief is that it'll be even more important, right, to cut through the noise, because as AI agents and engines and, and the different things that are going to effectively operate and, operate on the internet are still going to drive to, sort of the home bases that matter, and com will still be king. Yeah, but I think that's a really great, Ammar, I think that is kind of exactly where the rubber will meet the road, and we'll see that as it goes, I mean, we know that. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry, I thought you finished.
No, I was just going to say, Dharmesh, they picked up agent.com, right? To go with agent.ai, but I think they point agent.com to agent.ai. But kind of to Shane's point, when they have the kind of money where they can afford the .com as well, at some point it's a no-brainer, just because it's like, why would you want any of that traffic or any of that other brand equity going to somebody else? Josh?
Yeah, no, just a tip. If you do an advanced search in Google, you just go all in URL : space site : .ai. You're then basically looking at all like the sites out there that are using .ai domains. I mean, if you want to get an idea of just how popular this extension is, do that and just browse through Google, and you're going to see page after page, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of companies using .ai, like legit looking companies. And you're going to see, you're even going to see .ai domains that you didn't realize are forwarding to like really big brands. Like, for example, I just clicked on page 10 and you see Kodak.ai, Kodak.ai, redirecting to Virgin Galactic. It's just like, okay, I wonder what's going on there, but like, why do they want that .ai domain or whatever? But there's just more than what I've ever seen on any other extension, and it's not even close.
Yeah. Hey, look, I think that's a great point, and I think it's why we're seeing the prices that we're seeing, right?
So what's your thesis then, Josh? Do you think a company that is established, has raised a lot of money and makes a lot of money, right? Do they eventually want to get their .com and upgrade to it, or are they just happy living on the AI forever?
I think that it's going to be an edge case, actually, where they go to .com, and the edge case meaning they get really, really big, right? I think for most of these companies that even reach like unicorn status, I'm not sure they care that much. I know that's a bit of a hot take. People are going to hate that, but
no, I mean we're all speculating. We don't know.
Yeah. I just think that at least for now, and this can change, right? And in fact, I hedge on the side that it's more likely than not that it does change as people become, more familiar with .ai, and it's not as trendy as it is. But at least for now, the companies that are really like gaining traction in the AI space, they seem pretty comfortable branding on a .ai.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, and I think that as it becomes more mature, and there's less risk, being that it's a CCTLD and it's, managed by, donuts or whatever, right? Then it's like, I mean, that adds a little bit of de-risks it a little bit. I know one of the challenges with, sometimes when you have a new G or whatever, and it doesn't necessarily work in all sort of areas that, you want to use that type of an email address or something. I think that, yeah, I mean, there are less reasons not to. I saw somebody posted that they were trying to, shop the .com and they were told by a founder, hey, we have the .ai. Why would we need the .com? It's interesting. I mean, do you think it gets big enough to where it creates a shift in that it impacts .com pricing? Because .com pricing is as high as it's ever been. It's as hot as it's ever been, right? Do you think you reach a point where now all of a sudden you have the one word .com, and because does it impact the com pricing to actually bring com pricing down? Or is it just that everything's going to go up and it's just going to be another level? It's just a much more in demand, sort of where that continues to kind of rise up to the level of com and, creates another avenue for companies. And
I think all you're doing is just taking away one, assuming it plays out, let's say the way Josh and Shane say, it would be just taking out one potential buyer for your com, but the demand for domain names continues to rise, I believe. So I don't think it hurts .com values at all.
.com values are going up like week over week. It's it's like noticeable even at the wholesale level that, if you want a decent oneword.com, not even like amazing, just like a good one, you're paying $100K. Like that, like anything lower, you're getting a great deal basically. If it's a good, singular word that, companies have historically used and branded on. But like, I will say this, I think that there actually is still, it kind of feels like .ai is at this like massive wholesale peak where it's just like crazy. I actually don't think it is. I think that the Chinese market is starting to really like .ai, and I think we know that when the Chinese market, digs their teeth into something and decides that it's valuable, they often go pretty hard, and I don't think we're there yet. So I do think there's more of a, I think the hockey stick is still in motion on high-end .ai pricing, and I'm not that sure how high it goes, but I do think that it goes significantly higher from here still.
Okay. I dig it, man. I think it's great. I think it does take like to Ammar, I think that's a great point. It takes one sort of big buyer off the table. And for a lot of names, especially like generic one word awesome.com domains, then I don't think that will obviously hurt the .com demand. But for some names where you don't have that many big unicorn type buyers, right? It's got to have some kind of impact, right? Not every name has 5 unicorns willing to spend, $5 million on a domain name, right?
Well, I was just looking at, let's call it Anthropic.ai, right? If you, I haven't checked if they use the .com, but let's say you had Anthropic.com. There is exactly one buyer for that, for that name, right? And if they decide they don't need the .com or don't want the .com, then yeah, the value, I mean, there might be more than one buyer, but there's one real buyer.
Yeah,
And
one
so-
big boy buyer. Yep, and I
Right.
think that makes
So
sense. And I would argue there, I'd say, all right, that's a word that is a cool brand, but it wouldn't be one that I would pick over, a purely generic dictionary word, right? It's still somewhat obscure given, and the popularity is based off of the fact that you have this one company that is just that big and that valuable.
Okay, so I just checked. They do have the .com. So now I'm checking the .ai, and the .ai forwards to the .com. So now that is the second or third largest,
AI company.
AI company in the
and
world.
They're doing what you said, which is they've already upgraded to the com. They already have the com. So for them, upgrade complete. And
so the question is, did they have it before they launched, or probably not?
Chicken and the egg, I guess. But which one was their site initially? Did they get the AI and then get the com and now point, or was it always com and then they got the AI and just pointed because naturally the one was their site?
Right. And I think in that example, I do think that's probably where I think that's how it's going to play out for the most part. I think at some point they get to a certain scale, they're just going to want to be on .com.
Yeah.
I think that AI and so like OpenAI don't use open.ai, they use openai.com. And OpenAI obviously one of the big boys. But what is interesting to me, which I didn't necessarily predict a couple of years ago, and it was a lot closer, the gap was a lot closer at that point, was that something like open.ai would be so much more valuable in the market than openai.com. We're talking about like 10x more valuable. And I thought that bigger companies that were more serious would have a greater interest in owning openai.com as opposed to open.ai, which hasn't turned out to be the case.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is an excellent point and a great topic. We can talk about that for a little bit and then jump into the domain game. But yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that it starts to become a very like sort of like it's like there's levels to this, right? And if the .ai then takes over the full blank word AI.com, and now instead it's word.ai is the more valuable of those two. Shane, what do you think about that?
No, I think it always comes down to what is a TLD, how does it add value? And where we started this is right now the .ai adds value to your raise, to your branding. It defines you. Where it will change and when will it go to .com is where they don't want it to be defined as purely AI, right? That's what we're talking about. Right now, it's better to be on AI because defining as an AI makes you way more money and gets you way more customers. Until that changes, they're not seeking to get the .com for any other reason than to secure their brand. It doesn't give them any more value. Maybe gives them less value, and they're not as cool as being on .ai.
Well, I think there's something to be said for that. Like you talk about, this is almost like a generational thing, right? And so now you've got this new wave of founders.
It adds value. If you have a pitch deck and you have a great .ai name, it adds value to your pitch deck. Obviously, a .com has always done that, but in some cases, these one words are taken. And the other thing we all know is if something becomes such a huge brand that the .com becomes defined as the other company, it becomes a little more difficult to sell, right? Like, I mean, getting a little extreme on Amazon. If Amazon didn't own Amazon, you're like, I can't really brand my company Amazon. It's not going to work very well from here. There are other words that there's a million Geminis, right? Gemini is a trading company. Gemini is a ubiquitous word that's for lots of things. But just to summarize everything, I think AI gives value, and people are utilizing that value, and they will continue to utilize that value until it doesn't have any more, it doesn't raise any more money. It becomes a word that we are commonplace, and they want to not be defined by just being an AI company, and therefore they'll go to the .com. There's no more generic overall than .com. How long it'll take us to get there, if we ever get there, it may not. It may always be something. That's what our discussion is. We have no clue.
So speaking of Gemini, they have the .ai and the .com, and so, which is a really interesting decision by Google to do that.
Hold on. Yeah. So Google is Gemini AI, but the trading company owns the AI and the com?
Yes.
Oh.
And so that just tells you, like, I just think that was a really poor branding decision by Google to
can't outsmart the Winklevoss.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not surprised either. Are you surprised?
No, I mean, that's so bad.
Yeah.
So, Shane, to your point, then I think it's interesting, and I think it dovetails into Drew's position and his thesis that he's had from the beginning about, but just again, the not accounting for or realizing just, how long or how big this wave was going to be. And I think because of how big AI is, and it's in some ways it's the biggest wave we've ever seen, that encompasses way more than just domains. The entire internet, right? And in some ways now the entire economy, that, you've got just this, it's just
for Drew's thesis to play out, he's going to miss a decade. I'll say it right now. He's already missed 3 years, and it's probably going to take 7 more years till that doesn't become of any value. So there's
I think
a decade of profitability in there.
Well, and I think that's where, and if you talk to him about it now, and we talked about this on the show last week, and he recognizes that he missed, I don't want to say misjudged or whatever. Like, look, we make a ton of opinions on a lot of stuff all the time. And, this one from to even just say, hey, maybe I misjudged it is kind of interesting. But I do think you're right. I think it's just, we could be looking at years of potential deals. But here's the thing. We're helping clients buy and sell AIs. We have .ai domains. I think it's just a question of how big did we go versus how big could we have gone, right? I think that's the thing. And now it's like, I think we realize that there's still, a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of runway here. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I do agree that in a pitch deck, a .ai domain, like a one word open.ai, like looks pretty cool. And it looks cooler than openai.com. Does it look cooler than open.com? No, but I do think that if you're, again, sort of part of this younger generation, that where you're becoming a little bit more agnostic around, around extension, And also too, attainability. Look, the .com domain market is very mature. A lot of really great .coms are sitting in the possession of a lot of diamond-handed mofos, right? That are like, I'm not going to sell that oneword.com for less than $20 million. You know what I mean? We've had a couple of deals that we've been working on that literally are like stalled out because the current owner is like, no, I want literally $20 million for this domain name, And you kind of get to a point where it's just like, that you're up against that wall. It's like, water finds a way around it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just sometimes.
That's an interesting point, dude, because like I feel that this happens a lot, especially with the bigger boys in the domain and namespace. They kind of say like, forget about your .ai, your premium.ai, your premium.io. Like, it's all in the .com. Like, it's all in the .com, and it's like, yeah, you're so right? Like, I get it, but you're kind of you're stating the obvious. But for anyone that's not, Drew, Braden, Brent, Slav, etc., and is not able to drop, 250K on, a really good oneword.com, it's like, okay, what is the next best step in order to, play in this space, play profitably in this space, and get to a point where maybe one day you can drop 250 on a .com? And is it to go and buy a suboptimal.com for, 10K or 5K that there's not much demand? Or is it to go and spend, 10, 15K on a really, really good .ai name where there's loads of demand? And that's like, that's the focus. That's what you need to make a decision on.
Yep. And I think this plays into the point that Ammar made about it just takes one buyer off the table. But how many buyers do you have that are going to pay $10 million for a domain name? That's a small set of potential buyers, right? There's a lot that has to go into a company being able to spend that kind of money, that kind of domain name. Whereas 500K, we're seeing that there's a lot of demand for, end user customers in that range. $500 to $1 million is not what it used to be. So now that's actually but then you've got, again, domains that are sitting in hands of people that are looking at it like, well, I don't want to sell this for $1 million. So it's like not an option. And that's kind of what I meant too about, will it help to drive or impact the value of .com domains? Probably not, right? It's not, but it definitely is. There's a vacuum potentially, because again, if you've got .com domains that are sitting with people that paid a couple $100,000 that want to sell them for a couple $1 million and will not budge, and then you also have a lot of very successful domain folks who have those kind of domains who don't need to turn, who can actually hold out and wait for $6 million. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's a dynamic that also plays into it.
These domains are not getting poorer. They're not needing the money anymore. Right? So
no, hey, I think it's all good, man. I think it's interesting stuff. I think we're in a really cool time in the space. And, I think that more and more founders, VCs, are recognizing the value of domains in general. And I think recognizing how, the trends are not meaning less value for these really, really, valuable digital assets, but instead it's going the opposite direction, and it's creating even more opportunity. So, and huge shout out to James and Andy for being well ahead of the curve.
And that's the other problem is domain investors, we are horrible at taking profits. Like, we literally just take all that money and buy more domains and make the wholesale market even more expensive. So when I see all these great AI sales, I was like, all that does is hurt me. I know they sold it and I'm happy they sold it because that does help the value, but I think, oh God, it's coming right back into the auctions. I'm going to have to pay more because these guys, we all just keep putting the money right back in, right? We just keep buying more. And so the flywheel of growth, as they say in their pitch decks, the flywheel of growth.
Rising tide, baby. All right, cool. Well, look, that was great. That was a good domain topic to talk through at a high level and really get into it.
But the international monetary system, the way it's at, is never going to allow any of this to happen.
Hey, and buy Bitcoin, because that, ETH's running a little bit right now. So
okay.
Cool. All right, you guys ready to get into the domain game?
Yeah.
Is that what we're supposed to do?
Let's do it. All right, let's get it, guys. Let's get into the domain game. And that's where we're going to look at, hear about what the Sherpas recently bought or sold. We'll keep some scores. And did you guys see the clip where we did with the baby playing a little bit of the domain, the AI thing, dude? I love it. I love the Josh baby where you're like, and you hit it exactly at 11 grand. It's like I must have watched that like 100 times. Shout out to Billy, and actually, it was actually Adam Strong too, who hit us up with like, "Hey, here's how you do it. You guys should totally do this."
Yeah, Adam came and met me for lunch, and he was talking about it, and then I realized it wasn't out yet. Like I said, I didn't see that, and he goes, "Oh, no, you can't talk about it until they put it out."
We'll have to find another clip too, because I want to see everybody's babies now.
Although Theo Vaughn made it popular.
Yeah, yeah, dude. He did the one where, and it's literally one of my favorite clips where he's like, I ain't nobody's floaty. He's like, you trying to hang on my back. Bye, bitch. And it's like he's a little baby doing it, and it's just so funny. The problem is with us all being bald guys, like Ammar, me, Drew, we don't look that much different than the AI babies.
But that's even funnier. It's perfect.
Bye, bitch. I ain't nobody's floaty. So good. All right. Shout out to Adam. Shout out to Billy. All good stuff. All right. Well, let's get into the domain game, Shane. Shane, what you got, man? You got a buy or a sell? What's good?
It's not mine, so I'm just going to put out a sale so we can and tell me if you've seen it, and if not, then I can go more. But MountainHigh.com. MountainHigh.
I was in that auction, but
I'll get out of it.
No, I don't remember what it went for, so it's fine.
Okay, well, we'll see where you went to.
I was in that auction because it's
all right, well, then you have to tell us, what did you bid up to, so we know at least.
I don't remember. I really don't.
That's the beauty of these things. Is I'm the same way. I can tell you all these auctions. Like I was in it, and they go, "What to go for?" Like I have no idea.
Yeah.
But is it
right, fair enough.
MountainHigh.com?
Yeah.
Don't be.
That was on name.
Yeah, it was a NameJet name. I remember we talked about it in the pre-show or whatever.
Yeah, we talked about it was coming up.
Yeah, we talked about it.
The price you're gonna say is what it sold for.
What it ended up selling for. So I think it's good if we talked about what we thought before, and we'll talk about what it really sold for.
All right, throw it up, Josh. Let's go. Get it on your phone. Keep them eyes on the phone, not on whatever you just do a quick name bio or whatever. We're not doing that.
We know it. We're gonna find out what Ammar bid up to.
I have no idea.
3, 2, 1. All right.
Oh, damn.
Ooh. All right, so Josh is at 7,511. Ammar and I are each at 11 grand.
Wow, has that ever happened? That's so good.
It's super rare. I went with 11 grand because that's what I bid in the auction that we did the baby AI thing. You know, it's like you were right on it at 11 grand. But Josh,
well, you guys tie because it went for 97.78.
Okay. Oh, you and I should have just done right there. We should have one of us should have had to take the under. One of us should have.
Oh, I should have. That's true.
All right, but we each get a point then. Ammar and I each get a point. All right. All right. So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. I mean, that's, you've had, what do you call on, on NameJet, it's probably not, an end user, right? So the 10 Gs is kind of like, makes sense. It's a good name.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it jumped out at me because there's a very popular ski resort in Southern California called MountainHigh.
Okay.
So I grew up like hearing, all my friends going to MountainHigh every weekend, right? During ski season.
The famous song too, Rocky Mountain High.
That's what Colorado.
Yeah. I mean, it's the epitome of Colorado.
That's John Denver, right?
And it's just a great brand, but.
And it's the biggest weed state, like known for cannabis. So it's just all, yeah.
I think about Coors Light, Rocky, I mean, there's just a bunch of like, there's beer, there's different like stuff. I mean, it's obviously a cool brand. We're already pretty much in the pocket. So, all right, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Point to me and Ammar. Let's keep it moving, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. All babies with the right on it. Right on it at 11 grand. All right, Josh, what about you? What you got? You got a buy or a sell?
Let's do a buy. I had a name that was on hold for 100 grand the last like 24 hours, and I was hoping it would go through, and instead of it still being hold or going through, it's neither of those anymore. It's not on hold. It's not on hold, and it didn't go through. So I'm kind of mad.
What's the deal? So it's just,
I don't know. It was it was going to be, and it was a .xyz as well, which would have been so fun.
Oh man.
You can cut. No, I'm not going to say it. We'll talk.
Oh, man.
I don't want to put anything in anybody's head, so I'm just going to Let's go.
All right, so go ahead. So what's the buy that you're going to put on?
How about this one? ExploreAI.com. Since we talked about .ai versus .com and all that, I bought ExploreAI.com.
I mean, that's a great name.
I think I saw that on DNX, right?
Oh, yeah. I definitely bought it from DNX.
No, right. No, but I mean, what did you actually have it listed on there? Because I remember seeing it. I think I'm like,
We
oh,
bought
that's a
it.
good name.
Oh, you
No.
mean listed? I got you. Yeah.
I do have it listed on there now for sure.
Oh, okay.
Previous buyer had it. The previous seller had it listed on there too.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
All right. We ready?
Yeah.
All right. Let's flip. Shane, are you ready? All
Yeah.
right. Oh, I'm way high, but maybe not. All right. 4,000 for Ammar, 5,700 for Shane, and 14,000 for me.
So I paid $3,679.
Oh, Ammar with man. Shit. That tie in the first round is looming large.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so you got it on DNX. I think that's a great price for it. I mean, it makes sense. It's interesting.
It's a great
because
name. I mean, that's a perfect name for like a tutorial, for classes, I mean, that's a dream name for something like that.
or just any AI in general that calls
Or an
itself
aggregator for
You
all
get
the
a
different
double
models.
dip too. So you get ExploreAI, like exploring AI, and you get the people that did explore.ai. So you always that's a really good double dip.
Well, I think Explore is a great name. You know, it's a name though. I feel like a lot of words, you say them enough and they start to sound weird to you. Explore is an interesting, like fork. You know what I'm saying? It's like just a weird word. Spoon. A lot of the utensil names weird, like weird words. But but this kind of goes back to the thing, like what would explore.ai? Because really any AI engine or something that just goes by Explore as their brand, you know, that's really where I think, you know, that's very, very interesting. Explore.ai is probably at this point 60, 70, 80K name. I mean,
it's developed, that one. And that's a good question. It's like, does that hurt or help? I think I don't know.
I think it's good that I think it goes back to the idea that
it's off the market, which is
I think it's definitely better. Yeah. Because if you're trying to sell exploreai.com, you don't want explore.ai to be available anywhere in the range of what you're trying to sell your name for, because that is the most on point viable alternative. Right. So, and obviously we can all agree explore.com is, I don't know who uses that, but that's,
$1 billion.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean.
Monster,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, it actually goes to like some kind of a travel type of thing. So, but yeah, explore.com is $1 million plus domain. Explore.ai is a 100K plus domain, right? ExploreAI.com, 50K plus. I mean, what are you going to list it for? You bought it for 3 or 4. What are you going to sell it for?
Yeah, I list 50.
Yeah. So, all right. So Ammar's got 2 points. I have 1 point. Ammar, it's your name. So depending on who gets this, if one of the other guys gets it, you win. If I get it, we go to overtime.
Yeah, I might just have to text one of the other guys when I
Oh shit!
or what I saw.
I shouldn't have said that out loud in real time. You know
No, I'm just kidding.
All
right, hold on. I had a couple of .io sales, and this is another conversation we should talk about maybe later if we have time.
Possible .io is dead.
Like I had a couple .io sales that I sold via. Wait, if you sold them through DNX, then Josh is going to know what it sold for.
No. CloudBank.io.
Oof.
There's a lot of pressure right here. CloudBank.io.
How many .io names do you have, Ammar?
Too many. This is why I want to talk about it.
I just sold a big batch of .io names.
I know because I sold a name in that big batch.
Oh yeah.
Waiting for that money to hit the account. Go buy me some .ai. So let's go. All right. Are we ready? So this would be Shane and Josh.
I know you've been dropping prices, Ammar, so
chill.
Okay.
We're going to find out.
You wouldn't kill it. Would you?
3, 2, 1.
Ready?
Ooh, okay. Josh I'm at 3,500. Josh is at 3,888. And Shane's at 14,500.
You don't sell no damn domains for $4,000. This is Ammar Kuba we're talking about.
Yeah, let's go.
I do sell domains for $4,000, but this one was 9,900.
Oh, Shane.
Oh, what? Dude,
Shane
last
gets the point.
time I went high on you and you were like, no, I'm trying to move stuff now.
Shane gets the point and Ammar gets the win. Oh man, that's crazy.
Look, so this is a good point, Josh. You're right. I have been dropping prices like that. Is a name. I may have dropped it from 25 to 10. I don't know. I don't remember. That's the other thing is I need to keep track. Somebody please build a good management tool, please.
I'm doing it. Don't worry.
Thank you. I would love to know how my pricing changes over time, right? Because I very likely could have dropped it from 25 to 10. I don't know.
Well, you could go on DNX right now and find out. Like,
okay.
because we're tracking all the history now. But we started tracking it toward like middle to end of May. But like going forward, you'll be able to track all names and all their price changes.
Oh, that's amazing. So yeah, I if I dropped it, it would have been before then. But anyway, yeah. So I thought that was a pretty decent sale for that name.
It's a really good sale. It's a really good sale. I think that I would have priced it lower.
So what I'm seeing though is, like I said, I've had a couple of a few 2word.io sales, and recently more than a few actually. I mean, so they're like .io is holding. And I'm surprised.
I think that it holds well in the sub 10K range.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the premium stuff, like the oneword.io, is becoming a tough sell at like 25K plus.
Really? Sure. Because that's what those are the ones I'm holding on. That I have a bunch of really good oneword.ios that I,
Right, me too. I'm very heavy on oneword.ios.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't get.
I mean, the good news is we're not going to get hurt on those, right? Because even though they're oneword.ios, if I have a oneword.io priced at 250, I probably paid 5 or 10K for it, and I know it's worth at least 50K, let's say. So I'm not going to get hurt, but I may not get that crazy return that I was thinking.
I still think that's a pretty good price that you got for CloudBank.
Yeah.
That was a good.
I agree.
Nice work.
Yeah.
And how'd you sell that one? Did you say?
Your luck.
Yeah, after Nick.
After luck.
Nick. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, good stuff. That's good work. So
that's what I love about domain investing is we have all these great names, and the ones that come through are the ones that you never think you're going to sell.
So true, man.
It's every day of mine. I'm like, I'm such a great domain investor, and all my shit is the one that sells, and then all the good stuff just sits there.
When I sell like a terrible name and then replace it with a good name, and then another terrible name sells. And none of the good names sell, and I'm replacing them with good names. It's like I should be replacing them with loads of bad names.
Right.
And every day on X, I see people posting a great sale with a terrible name, and I think, I don't even know how to work this. Like,
right.
I would never buy that name. So I don't even know what to use that data for. Because
I think the problem is what happens is we probably, or I'm guilty of this. I love my good names too much. So I'm pricing them, right? And then my names that are the lower tier names, I'm like, oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it's almost like an endowment effect heuristic where, you value your stuff, right? Or, in this case, you're valuing certain things more than you're valuing other things based on some subjective, objective criteria. So it's the stuff that you are basically, and here's the thing, I think the lower prices, the higher your sell-through rate, right? So naturally, the names that you're not in love with for whatever reason, you're pricing lower and then they're selling because, stuff's moving, period. There's stuff selling at all levels at the moment, right? So, and there's definitely a lot of activity even in the lower value names where, and this goes back to what we were saying before when we were talking about some of the .ai conversations about how, because so many, the market has matured and, you've had the wholesale market that has continued to increase in value, which means the retail prices have gone up. which means that, the availability of names for people within certain budget parameters is changed and it's limited. So the stuff that's available is stuff that you don't love, and therefore it's priced lower and therefore selling.
I've got a question since I've got a great group here. Do you think having a page that has a buy it now and a make offer, one, does a make offer throw your buy it now off? Like, does it make it less likely to buy it now? Two, can you moonshot it thinking, well, someone just wants to get it done? So let's just take a good example. Let's say I have a 4letter.com that I had at 9,800 and it's great letters. And instead I price it at 29,888 and then put a make offer below it. Is that the move, or is it better off having, what do you guys?
For me, I don't do make offer on anything under 100K. So there are 0 make offers on my names under 100K, if they're priced, assuming they're priced. So in your example, Shane, what I would do is I would price it at the 29 or 25 or whatever with no make offer, just a bin and a LTO option. And then if they're serious, they'll reach out, they'll connect with a broker or whatever. And then you can always have that conversation. And, worst case, you might end up at 10 anyway. They'd view that as a win. I always think you anchor higher. And you don't do a make offer because that's just diminishing, from my perspective, your win.
Josh?
Yeah, I go back and forth on the same stuff.
Yeah.
Like I do like a month of no make offer, and then I'll be like super mad that I haven't got any offers. I like, I'm doing this all day, every day. I constantly want action. I'm thriving on the action. So when I go into my lead center and I don't see any like new leads, it pisses me off. So, I don't know. I think it depends on your mindset. But
well, the funny thing is, I was thinking the exact same thing. The reason I did it is like, I just want to feel something.
Because your wife's out of town. You're like, shit, I need to do some make offers.
And I've had a couple great, my month has been great, but it just makes it worse. Once you feel it, like you get those sales coming and then there's 5 days of not even a response. I'm like, somebody just I don't care if it's $100, just make me feel like I got something you want. Like,
super addictive. Yeah, and the pricing thing that you were talking about before, or we were all talking about before, I think that especially on our best names is so tough as well. It's like I think I price all of my best names too high, but then I price them so much lower than like a James Booth or someone like that, and then I see him, knock it out the park, and I'm like, oh fuck, I need to increase my prices. Or like the dude that posts this morning that he sold ucoin.com for 200 grand. It's like, okay, like what do I do? Like. So
no, I'm with you. Well, and even when we had Braden on, a couple weeks ago, talking about Odyssey as an example, and so I think it's Odyssey sells for multi-millions, and you're like, I've got names that are, we've got plenty of names in our portfolio that we think are as good or better, and so now does that mean we've got to reprice all of our stuff? And it all goes back to what I was just saying before about how your pricing is going to dictate your sell-through rate. And also, if you can hold out and be patient, if you could set it up so that you do one killer sale a year, right? That makes your entire year, but have no other action the rest of the year, but then you're waiting for that one big sale.
I can't take that. Like, I can't. There's no way I could do that.
It takes motherfucking patience and discipline.
I'd have to pick up 3 new hobbies or something. Like,
well, I wouldn't be. It's funny. So I was thinking about this today related to Bitcoin, right? Because, I see these Bitcoin guys that just post all the time about all the stuff they're doing around Bitcoin. And it's like, really, though, all you got to do with Bitcoin is buy it and just hold it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the other stuff, going to conferences and all this other shit. I feel like a lot of these big time Bitcoin guys are just doing stuff to just give themselves something
friends.
to do.
They want Bitcoin friends on some of them.
Exactly right. They're motherfucking lonely. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what else are they going to do? So it's like, domains could be the same way if you're operating at a high level where you're talking about big buys, big sales. You could.
There's a reason Mike Seiger's building Pyramid.
It's like, what else do you do with yourself?
Yeah,
just waiting for the price to go up. I mean, that's really it. So, because otherwise, it's like, what do you do for a living? Like, I literally do nothing. I wait.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like I literally retired from a job to take a job that takes a couple hours a week and make twice as much money, and then there's all this gap in time. There's no reason we're all weird.
Right, exactly. It makes us all weirdos.
Yeah.
We just have like I've been pretty busy at home. There's a lot going on with my kids.
24/7 until a name goes on hold. That's all I do. I just sit there and just refresh.
Refresh. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? Check my email. Hey,
not gonna lie. Last night,
Juan,
I woke up at like 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning, and I couldn't go back to sleep. So I did. I went on to Afternick, and I'm like, oh, is there anything on hold?
Juan, what's going on, dog? You know what I'm saying? Holler at me, boy.
I mean, the great one is the email that you wake up and it says, name has been removed from your Afternick portfolio. And I'm like, oh shit, I let that drop. Yeah, I was like, so now I'm afraid to let things drop because it throws off my next morning, you know?
I get such a nice dopamine rush when I see a domain's been removed from my account.
Exactly. You're just dropping names just to get that feeling, even if it's not real.
It's like, hey, you know,
like, the email. It's so great to just talk about because we all are the exact same. I mean, we all operate the same way.
You know,
yeah, I checked
obviously.
That's most of my day.
The best
right?
email is, hey, funds are on the way. You know?
If the Apple checked the time I checked my email or restocked I mean, like a stock, I constantly hit refresh on my stocks. Like 1 minute's going to make I'm not doing anything with it. Like I'm holding the stock for 7 years and I refresh it every 3 seconds and that's going to change my life. But
dude, I'm telling you, Bitcoin's the same way. And it's like, it impacts, we joke around. We had the show literally called, the one show title was Quantum Entanglement, because it's like, you know, my mood is dependent on the current price of Bitcoin.
And yet you're never going to sell it.
I'm not going to sell it anyway. It doesn't matter. Today, you go to 150, you know, today. Right. And I'm like,
but you'll feel damn
amazing. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, you know, and then I'm like, but then I go through, oh shit, I wish I had more. I should have bought more. I should have bought more when I could, you know, when it was lower, like all that kind of stuff.
And there's nobody to talk to and show your wealth but your spouse. And they look at you like, you're showing me great. I've seen that 400 times this week.
Yeah. They have no interest because even on the work front, you know, when I start doing that stuff and I'm like, it's like somebody trying to tell you about their fantasy football roster. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. Yeah, no one cares. You're the only one that cares about this particular
That's why I
thing.
got a dog. At least he listens, you know?
So I just checked. I still don't have anything on hold. Nothing's changed in the last hour.
Oh, sorry, man. I was hoping we could manifest it for you. But hey.
I got a delay in payment account, so I'm losing money.
Yeah, exactly. You had the opposite happen. At first you see like the little, like the fact that you got an email and you're like, yes, and I like missed a payment. You're like, no. That roller coaster of emotions.
And who is secureserver.net? Is that GoDaddy? So I got I got a bunch of ACH payments, so that's good.
Yeah, today's the one of the 4 days. It was from the 7th, but then it's always a day.
That's new, right? By the way, they never used to do never used to do that. They're doing that on all Afternick payouts now. They're sending
that. They do it in 4 batches, and then but their system is just really stupid with the fucking ACH. And then it says the payout's on the way, but it's actually not on the way, because then you get another one that says it's on the way, and then it's really not going to come till the next day. So it's literally I just wish they would.
And it shouldn't come from secureserver.net. I know that's GoDaddy, but GoDaddy probably should send it out from GoDaddy.
Yeah, send it out from a GoDaddy email. You know,
because I didn't think it was real. I mean, every month I don't think it's real. Then I look at it, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, the ACH just takes a second anyway. That's always
money coming from the .net.
I know, but like they could just, if their goal is to do it in batches, then if they know it's going to take an extra day, and it's also a day after they tell you that it's on the way. So it's supposed to be on the 7th, right? And then you get an email on the 7th, the money's on the way. Good news, we've sent your money. And then they didn't really send it, because then on the 8th, you get another one that says the ACH is like, oh, today we sent you, we distributed the payment or whatever, but then you don't really get it till the 9th. So it's like they could just move everything up, right? So that you actually get it on the day you're supposed to get it. And then they charge you 90 fucking cents. That really
you could download the what do you call it, the payout transmittal,
that probably bothers me more than anything. I'm like, really? 90 cents?
MediaOptions is the industry's leading domain broker specializing in domain acquisitions, high-value domain sales, and domain name consultation. As pioneers and thought leaders on the subject of the domain aftermarket and domain name value, plus through their clear domain acquisition service, MediaOptions offers startups and established corporations an unparalleled scope of high-value domain options, providing access to domain names and curation technologies not available elsewhere. MediaOptions believes in the power of a great domain name and is dedicated to helping you obtain yours. Call or email today to put a domain to work for you.
Let's keep it moving. We got to get into NameJetGonnaJet. So that's a domain game. Congratulations, Ammar. I owe you some swag. You know what I'm saying? So consider that on the way, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Let's slide into NameJetGonnaJet. Sponsored by NameJet. We're going to review a list of domains coming up for auction. We're running tight on time, so we'll keep this relatively quick. We've got a list of names that we're going to look at. You can also go to the corresponding show page on DomainSherpa.com, download the spreadsheet that's got a bunch of data and all that good stuff about the names that we've got on the list today. And so let's keep it moving. Josh, let's start with you. Since Shane was the lead off on the domain game, it's on you. What do you like? What don't you like?
Let's see here. So, obviously GSB.com. What's not to like about that one?
The price.
Yeah, what that'll ultimately sell for. Do you think that'll go? It'll go 50, right? Don't you think?
Over 50. Yeah, that'll go over 50. That will go between. It depends if someone gets really into it, it could go to like 100, but
yeah,
plus. But that's a top tier three letter
character. Yeah,
like they literally don't, unless they have like a meaning, they don't get better than that.
Yeah.
If go to Crunchbase, go to check number of TRDs, go to LinkedIn. So many companies branding under GSB.
Bang.
So I think that one probably goes minimum 75, could go over 100. I like magic.com, especially the fact that it ends in IQ.
Stop talking.
That one, it's funny. We talk about names all the time not passing the radio test, but that's an instance where I think it's actually fine because it's magic with a Q instead of a C, but you got IQ in there. Like that's a dope little brand right there. So
great brand. You can see an AI company using that like big time. Big time. In fact, I want it.
Do we need to cut that? Do we need to cut it?
No, I think that thing was going to fly with or without us.
Thing's going to fly. That thing's going to fly. I'm guessing that goes for over 10K.
Yeah, I was going to say 15.
Yeah.
Oh, just enough to make you be like, oh, do I want to pay that much for a brandable? No.
It's when you start looking up more stuff, like why it should be worth more. You just start Googling stuff to make yourself feel better because you're about to put in the next bid.
Yeah.
Right.
Those two are like by far my favorites, like by far. So I'll leave it at that.
Rightfully so. All right, cool. All right, Ammar, what do you think, man? What do you like? What don't you like?
So, Magic was probably my favorite name on there. Then the two that I think could be under the radar sleepers would be, I like Sunergy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a trademark on it or not. So this is just me looking at the list. Yeah. I like that one a lot. And I like TravelWell. Those are the two probably others that I think could be sleepers. And the only one I don't like on here is LED lamps.
Okay.
I think everything else I could make an argument. Actually, and food menu. I don't like LED lamps and food menu. Those are the two I don't see much point in owning.
Okay.
But everything else is good.
Sunergy is a fantastic name.
Yeah, Sunergy is cool.
So let me ask you this. If there is a trademark, which I'm sure there is, but let's assume there are multiple, because I think that good that there are multiple. You stay away from that name?
I really like the name. I guess, I've gotten screwed on those kind of things where it's not a word, right? So it's a combination of words, and I guess I'd want to look at the trademarks and see maybe how big the company was. But I like the name a lot. And if there's multiple trademarks, like you're saying, then I think there's
in the US there are 3 trademarks.
For what categories?
3
okay, yeah.
live. They're in the ones you would think.
Oh.
They're in skin balms, like creams, right? Like a sunblock, inverter, and then class 9, which is like photovoltaic cell, solar cell, solar
Class
panels.
9 is the key. Yeah, class 9.
And then class 11, I think. Let me see. There's one more.
Class 9. If they have class 9 for Sunergy, it's going to be
Fine.
tough.
Class
Then
3,
the-
class 5, class 11, and class 9.
Yeah, and class 11, which is solar powered lawn and garden lights. So yeah, they've all got, they're all rock and roll. And that's an interesting one. But now you've got a couple of potential buyers, right? And it's
But the fact multiple trademarks also, helps you in a way that you're not targeting a trademark owner,
right.
because now multiple buyers, and it's proven that it can be used across various categories. So if you were buying it with the intention to use it in a different category, for example, like, that's fair game. And as an investor, you're not targeting because there's not just one well-known owner. So for me personally, I think that their name like that is completely fair game.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think
But here's the other side, Josh, is somebody who wanted to use it in that category will not, because they can't, right? So you're right in the fact that there's 5 or 6 and could be multiple categories, but you've taken out the biggest spender, the sun and the solar panel opportunity, right? No one's going to come into that and name their company that anymore because of it.
No,
Potentially. I mean, you have to look and see, how active and alive they actually are. But, they have registered marks. So, I mean, it's definitely something to be concerned about. I think this would be a really good, we should probably do a show with Barry Hill or Zach and really get under the hood under like some different, potential scenarios to say, what would your advice to a client be? Because I think this is a name that if you buy it, you've got to be really careful about how you, posting it for sale versus putting it up and, saying, this is my new domain brokerage service.
You know what? I'm
Sunergy.
just looking right now. This name is fair game. There are a bunch of Sunergies in the solar space. Maybe they don't have registered trademarks, but
yeah,
there's a bunch that are doing solar. So
Okay.
I would argue that if this company is not, if the one with the trademark is not enforcing their trademark, that's, that actually goes against.
You can
them.
find out when you try and get another. Like, I'm doing a bunch of trademarks on on different businesses I'm building, and one of them was contested in the clothing area, which I didn't think they were doing any type of. It was totally different types of clothing. Like, it was, I can't remember exactly, but when I put my trademark in, they came back and said, "Hey, no, we don't want them to have a." They contested the trademark. And I was like, shit, now I have to win this. Like, because it was going to be a big clothing was part of my sales. And when they contested, if I don't get a trademark, then that means if I do sell clothes, maybe they could, sue me for trademark infringement. So it does make a difference on that kind of stuff. And it's not a problem until it's a problem, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
True.
yeah, I'm not, if I was buying this name, I'm not buying it because I actually want to get into the solar.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
As an investment in the domain. So it's not my issue, right?
And it's not any of our concern, right? If they buy the name, it's not like they come back and say, "Hey, I couldn't get a class 9, so I don't want to buy the name now."
Yeah, but
unless they buy it
it's
on
more about avoiding
monthly.
UDRP in the meantime, right? And that
in the
would be
meantime,
like,
right.
Right,
Yep,
but I'm
yep,
looking
yep.
here, and there are a bunch of Sunergies, several Sunergies that are using that for solar.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it would be an interesting thing. I mean, if I put my lawyer hat on, I have to admit I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I think you could definitely buy it and not have to, not. But the issue is you could buy it and just not do anything with it, and you don't have an issue. It's that if you list it for sale, or even worse, like you put it on a lander, and then they throw up some like
with those AI fucking,
they throw up some ads that are going to be directly competitive with existing trademarks. Well, now you're going to run into some potential problems around potential UDRP and that kind of thing. So, and then how do you reach out to some of these companies? Now, if there's multiple companies with a trademark, you could almost be, I don't know how, if you want to, how blatant you'd be about it, but it's like, hey, there's multiple companies out there called Sunergy. You're one of them. Do you want the domain name? It's almost like you're telling them.
That's why I don't do outbound.
Yeah. Well, we do. And, we're always careful around that stuff. And obviously more of what we do is really based around, very like generic domains. So
right.
You have users in all sorts of different categories and things, and it's not as much concern, but, interesting thought altogether. So, but yeah. All right. Well, cool. All right, Shane, I think we're you on the list. We'll run through it.
Yeah. You guys took the good stuff. I think, the one we couldn't skip is Outlander, but at first I was thinking, oh, that's travel, like going through the mountains, but that's overlanding. That's not Outlander. That's overlander. So overlanding. So Outlander, I think the searches and all that are from the show, I would assume, right?
Yeah, well, there's the show, and then you got the Mitsubishi car, right? So you've got the Mitsubishi Outlander, and then yes, you have the show that's a pretty popular show. So I'm sure that's where that Esteban appraisal is kind of,
in
based
the
on
searches
traffic
and all that,
activity.
I think, and I think LogoDesigner is an interesting one in the fact that, somebody's going to buy that and use AI, and you think, well, why would anybody do a standalone when all the current AI LLM models will do it? It still works. Like there's still people making ARR of $10 million doing simple tasks, which is crazy.
Sure.
And LogoDesigner,
doesn't Richard Lau have logo.com?
Right. I was going to say you're up against logo.com. So
yeah, but you're also against every AI logo designer.
Right.
But you could say the same thing about headshots, right? Like, why would people do headshots? There's 50 headshot places. They're all killing it. Like the headshot people are absolutely killing it. And AI can pretty much do that now.
It's funny. I saw a tweet, and literally think this was like yesterday, where people were talking about if you getting into a space that's already kind of saturated, and that how it's not absolutely a no, like a no-go. It's not about just, hey, find something that no one's in, that you can still compete in markets where they're existing. I forget what it was. It's one of those things like, oh, I didn't read the article, but I read the headline. You know what I'm saying? I remember like just seeing something sort of, but that was the general gist, was that, a saturated market does not mean it's completely off limits, especially if you have a very good domain name and a good tool, right? It's like, especially because if a lot of this stuff is set and forget it. Now, maybe you don't want to invest, $1 million into Logo Designer, but if you can get logodesigner.com for $6,000 and you can throw some AI around it, that all of a sudden you can get it, and then use that as lead gen for other things, domains, websites, SEO, who knows? Like
there's money to be made. Like I listen to all those podcasts of people building the back ends, and none of them are in it for the long haul. They're in it to just squeeze some money. But like I said, I'm not exaggerating, but some of these guys are doing $1 million 3 months later ARR every month, and then it fades away to nothing. But they've made $6 million on a quick model.
Do that. Yeah, let's do it.
So, and LogoDesigner is a good one for doing something like that. Yeah, you'd want logo.ai, you'd want logo.com, of course, but you can get LogoDesigner a lot cheaper, and that thing of LogoDesigner will always be around, right? We're always going to be designing logos. We're just going to change how we do it. So
yeah,
I think that's a really good one. PRPR is going to do well. Memorable, good letters, repeating, still a little bit of Chinese interest in those kind of things. So I think PRPR will honestly get close to 10,000 itself, which doesn't make sense to everybody, but I think it will. Do you guys agree? Do you think PRPR will get close to 10?
No,
I can see that.
I like the name,
range,
but I don't think it'll get to 10.
Yeah.
I think it'll get close. I think it'll be like
It'll be fun to watch. We'll
I
see.
don't know the 4L market that well, like the unmeaningful 4L market, but I think that it probably does go between 5 and 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'd agree. I have two of them in there for you specifically, Shane, if you could call
Yeah. No, those are, I mean, they still, it doesn't do well as a triple repeating, like, K, PPPP. Those aren't quite as popular, but repeating and the ones that are letter, repeating vowel, repeating letter like PAP or even DAC, DAAC. Like those kind of names are killing it, really killing it.
Well, yeah, I'm obviously if this was a CVCV, you know, that would
that's
be
different
altogether. But I don't know, PRPR, you know, you think about like, I don't know, that to me, I agree. I think that one's going to go for like 10. I think it's a pretty cool
public relations
brand.
press release. Like,
yeah, it's not exactly. I was thinking, you know, Puerto Rico something.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know.
I think it's.
Yeah,
I think it does 10 grand.
I like the name. I didn't know if it. I guess
you know,
I was
public
just going crazy.
PRPR could be a really cool AI press release tool. You know, public relations press release like type of thing is actually really neat in a way where it's PRPR. You know, and per. I don't know. But no, there were two names on here specifically for you, Shane.
I know you put 2384. So if it was
not that one, that was not the one.
Oh, Zenflower. Yeah, I mean Zenflower and Box Garden. So Box Garden, nobody calls it a box garden. Like it is a box and it is a garden, but it's a planter box is what they call it.
Ah, see, that's where I'm not an expert. I don't know. I think Box Garden. I'm like, ooh, that's a great name. I'm about to go bid on.
Physically descriptive, but it's not the name. Yeah,
it's not the term. The industry.
You've got the words correct, but they do call them planter boxes when you're searching for them, and a huge category like container gardening and planter boxes is billions of dollars. So because everybody's too lazy to bend over, and we're too fat in the U.S. So those are really good. And then in the Sunergy, I'm a big solar guy. Sunergy doesn't get much better. And then there's names like these are the ones we're going to see all the time. Is house building. Yeah, we know we build houses and billions and trillions of dollars of homes are built, but that's just where nobody's going to use that.
That was the one before. I think somebody had mentioned food menu. Food menu and house building are similar to me in that their name. They sound like, oh, that's a kind of an interesting 2word.com domain, but nobody says food menu and nobody says house building. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, home building would be better.
Yeah.
You know, and food menu is just like a weird, redundant kind of thing. I mean, you could do something with it, but I think we're entering into this world where, you know, search is so different now. And, you know, it's not like, oh, let me kind of build up an info page or some directory site or something around, you know, some generic-ish sort of collection of stuff that, food menu could be driven to some sort of but you're going to come up with a much better, you're either going to use something that's extremely on point or you're going to come up with something that's more of a brand, you know?
Yeah, there's a great podcast with Tim Ferriss and I can't believe I can't remember the name, but the founder of Expedia and Glassdoor and Zillow. And he talks about how he named those companies. And he's really, really lays it out exactly how he picked them and how he picked the names. And one of the things he said is, we wanted defendable, identifiable names. So we didn't go with too common because we didn't feel we could defend them in court to get all the licenses and things we needed. So names like food menu and house building, those are tough to build brands around, especially bigger brands. You don't have much choice there. So
I would agree. I mean, it's Rich Barton is the guy you're talking about.
Rich Barton, Rich is one of the smartest humans I've ever met. He's all around. He's athletic, he's good looking, he's smart, he's built big companies, he's kind. Like the dude is just solid. And he gives a good branding study. Yeah,
I think that, you know, and that we talk about that a lot. This is what, you know, the finding the right balance with descriptiveness so people know what you do, with a brand that has staying power, defensibility. There's so many different variables that go into naming, you know, and that's why Sunergy is a super cool kind of name. It's why there's a lot of different companies and trademarks already, because it's like, look, I'm already halfway there, whether you're solar panels or sunblock or whatever, like, you know, and it's cool, it's catchy, it's all that kind of stuff. And, but when you get into the stuff that's generic, again, it's generic. It almost has to either be like so generic that you can like own the whole term because that's, you cornered it and you own it. But again, if it's like, if it's not even a real word, or it's like, you know, you're trying to be generic, again, I think the game is changing. I think search is changing, like the way people use the internet. It's you know, so some of those names become less valuable, even though they might have a high estimate value, which we say take with a grain of salt all the time anyway. But you know, it's it's all part of the game. So all right, well, look, I think we've gone through the list at length now and covered almost all of the names. So everybody, good luck in your bidding. Not financial advice, not legal advice, as always, but definitely, do your thing and good luck. All right, one quick last round the room just to see if anybody has anything else that they want to mention. Ammar, I'm going to start with you. You got anything else going on? What's good, man?
I'm just working on my duper score, my duper rating.
What's your duper rating? What's that?
It's a pickleball thing. It's terrible right now, and I'm beating people that are way higher than me, but my rating doesn't reflect it. So
why doesn't it change once you beat those guys?
Because it only changes when you play, like they have to be duper,
like sanctioned matches or something.
Yeah. And so I played yesterday or 2 days ago, and I played like shit. So my score actually went down. And then when I'm playing and they don't count, I'm beating them. So I got to talk to you, Josh, about how to get the mental part right.
There you go. That's what it is, man. Hey, well, good luck with that. You're always super duper to me, dude.
Thanks, buddy.
There you go. I'm just trying to help, man. Just trying to keep you, kind of keep your confidence up. It's like I do with the kids on the teams that I coach, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, you're great. Don't worry about it. Just keep working. Keep working. It's all good. Anyway, all right. Well, cool. Shane, what about you?
Same old thing. DSAD every day, writing, and we put it in newsletter form so that people can get it in the box if they want it that way instead of coming to the site. I'm ornery right now because I'm in shred phase. Like I'm in weight. I'm doing marathon training and cutting weight, so I'm in caloric deficit and ornery and tired. And I head to the mountains for 6 weeks for training at 12,000 feet, so it's going to get worse. But it'll be good. Good hiking, good running. It's absolutely stunning. But man, like, it's hard to get in really good shape at 55. It just takes so much sleep and energy and food. Like, you just can't fuck around on anything. Like, I'm just eating cans of chicken constantly.
Oh, dude, the diet is the hardest part. I mean, I work out every day and I'm tracking my calories. And, for the first like couple of weeks when I'm tracking calories, it's pretty easy to like be rocking that deficit and still feel relatively good. But you get to like week 6 and 7. Or like, when we were away in Miami for that week with the MediaOptions team, and it was like dinners every night. Dudes want to do breakfast and shit. And I'm just like, I don't even normally eat breakfast. And, we're drinking and, and then I'm like, it's just hard. You're just like, damn. And then, then you start getting into that vibe where it's like, it only takes, especially when you're counting your calories, you realize how many sneaky calories are in different things. Like, I just got Starbucks. It's like, this shit will probably fill my whole day
that's
up.
The worst.
I don't normally do these, but again, all it takes is 1 or 2 bad decisions over a week.
Yeah.
And it's the difference of being like 4,000 calories under or like 1,000 calories over. And it's like, it's one bag of M&Ms, man. It's like, it literally will like fuck your shit up. So you gotta be committed. And you're right. You wake up sometimes and you're just like,
exactly. You wake up like ornery and
you're like, yo, I didn't wake up and kick ass yet. I'm just waking up and ass kicked. Wake up, ass kicked.
Yeah, I'm trying to get down to like 8% body fat. So I'm trying to.
It's hard as you get older, man. We got one of these scales, the Hume scale. I don't know if you, which measures your metrics and all that stuff, body fat and, metabolic age and everything. I actually have a very good metabolic age, which is cool, probably because I do a decent amount of running and stuff. But
is it like a domain valuation that just tells you nice things, even if it's not
yeah,
true?
Exactly. It's like an Esteban valuation. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, but the scale said I was 36. But my wife has like a higher metabolic age and she's like super bitter. She hates the scale. She's like, the scale like you hates me. I hate the scale, And it's like a whole big thing at the house. But as you get older,
I won't bring it up when I see her then. I'm like, oh,
no, dude. Yeah, we might get her to come to NamesCon since it'll be in Miami. So, we'll see. But she'll if you're like, oh, I heard you gotta, you and the scale get along really well, she'll be like, fuck, the scale's an asshole, as it's like a person, you know what I mean? She's like, I hate the scale.
Yeah.
Because it's not even about how much you weigh. It's literally, it gets into your other shit. Like, so she's like, I'm at a good weight, but like, it's like, oh, your arm fat, you know what I'm saying? Like, it literally does all that stuff. And it's like, and just like anything, right? It could say 10 things and 9 of them could be positive, but that one negative thing, you're like, what do you mean? It's like somebody, I remember that from like back. It's like anything, somebody has good, the negative will always stand out. And so you just got to keep it. But well, good luck,
Yeah,
Shane. Good luck with all your stuff, man.
it's working out.
Here I am. I'm like on my, I'm trying to just pump everybody up today, man. It's gonna be okay, dude. You're looking good.
You're super duper, Shane.
Yeah, exactly. So we did and I won't get into too much detail, but we did a 6-mile run, and then my friend was running a 5K, so she wanted us to participate in the 5K. So we ran to the 5K and did a 5K, and I'm standing at the line. I'm already tired, and we just start, and they took a picture of me, and I look like the old drunk dad that does not want to be there.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic picture. I literally look 100 because I'm just like, fuck this. Like, I cannot believe I'm about to run with 13-year-olds in a fireman, 5K in the middle of a Sunday at 90 degrees. Like, too old for this. But
that's just extra.
I'm doing it for my second wife, so.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, yesterday I ran early, and then I was at one of my kids had training. So then I'm like, all right, I'm going to run now. I'm going to knock out another 2 miles. And it was like thundering. Like it started, it was borderline, and I'm like, I think I'll try it, so I get out there and I run, and I was able to beat most of the weather, but it started to rain. It was humid and it was nasty, and it was like just nothing fun about it at all, man. I was like, you're dragging, and you're like, fuck it. I'm going back to the car and I'm gonna eat M&Ms. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm breaking out the stash I'm breaking
you
out
do
the
get
stash.
You do get a lot of whys in your head. I mean, that's when people say it, like when we, like, I'm working for somebody, like, you don't need the money while you're working. Like, you're talking to a dude that runs for no reason, who will never win a race. Like, you don't have to tell me why I do something. It's not about winning anything or making money. Like, making money is fine, but we're all just keeping score in life here, right? We're all just have different ways to keep score. And sometimes that's our health, and sometimes that's our bank account. But
yeah,
all in all, we're pretty good.
Those two things, and then you add in sort of family and friends, and it doesn't get much deeper than that. Maybe your duper score, and that's
your duper rating.
Yeah,
for sure.
Our duper ratings are very data driven score. You got to concentrate on.
Yeah, Josh looked me up earlier. He's like, "Oh boy, bro." He's like,
so wait, let's go.
It's Josh. Not a super duper.
My duper has been on a steep downfall for 2 years now, Ammar, so I don't even look at it.
I mean, it's still 50% better than yours, but it's still falling.
It's more than that. Right. It's got to be like 3 times Ammar's.
It's just
Ammar plays in goggles, dude. You know what I'm saying? How good
bothers me that I have a lower rating than people that I know I'm way better than. It just pisses me.
It only bothers you because you don't want people to look up your duper and think that you're not that good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you don't care about that, it doesn't matter, and I don't care about it.
See, there you go.
Surprise them when you play.
Enlightenment is all about accepting the things you can change. Although you're like, what? But I can change it. I just have to go and win those
Correct.
matches.
I have to go do the right things.
I have to go win. So, Josh, what about you, man? What else is good? I know DNX is killing it. You guys are doing great there. I love everything that's happening. It's
killing it, doing good. Yeah, I'm all good. We're getting ready to go away for the summer. My the only thing that's not good is that I strained my back somehow about 3 weeks ago, and I was kind of like out for about 10 days. Didn't play much, couldn't work out very much, and then I've been working out and playing pickleball again, but it's like good days and bad days. Today's a really bad day. I just been I don't know like what it is, but when I've done it before, but when I strain my back, it just even as I know that it's healing, it continues to just like lock up for what seems like months afterwards. So just hoping that I can recover sooner rather than later.
Massage and dry needling and raise your screen. Those are the 3. Yeah, like if you look at me, I'm looking up my screen. So I literally went to a class yesterday on desk because my shoulders and my back are just horrible. And so I went and got a massage, and then went to like a 30-minute session on setting up your desktop. It's got to be 2 inches below your eye line when you set up your screen. Otherwise, you're looking down all day and you're toast. Your back is toast. Like, I didn't think about that too much. I mean, I'm cognizant, but he's like, this is ideal. This 6 or 7 hours a day that you're at your desk will more than pay for the hour you're spending with me. You won't have to come see me as much if you do all this stuff right.
Yeah, that's interesting. The eyeline piece is interesting, because even people who have standing desks, that was the one thing I used
They still look down.
that was my challenge when I had a standing desk. I was like, my posture, like, yeah, I'm standing up, so maybe I'm not, I'm burning more calories, I'm more active technically, but I felt like my posture was more messed up because, you're trying to type, and like you said, you're still sort of looking down, and your angles are weird. And it's like, but I think, yeah, that's good. That's good tips. See, so look at that. We're helping improve lives out here. So everybody, just so you know, get your monitor squared away for all you guys that are spending a lot of time like us.
All you domainers spending time at the desk, it's gonna kill your back.
It's a lot, man. Well, you got to get up and be active. Get outside, get a little touch grass, get a little sunlight. A little vitamin D. Get your feet in some dirt. You know what I'm saying?
I got to check my email every 3 minutes. If I
check your email for your after Nick sales.
Hey Meta, check my email. I got the freaking glasses.
Your Bitcoin. All right. Well, look, let me close it out really quick. I have 2 things to touch on, both conference related. We've got a lot of really cool, exciting things that are happening. Domain space. The domain space is hot right now. It's hot, hot, hot. You got the ICANN Prague is happening. So shout out to the folks like Zach Muskovich and others that are out there doing the Lord's work, trying to keep it moving from a policy standpoint for the betterment of all of us domainers and domain investors and domain related companies. So big shout out to Zach and the ICA for the work they're doing there. Speaking of the ICA, recently they sent out the email for the January conference, the meetup, the annual meetup that'll be happening in Vegas. It's going to be at the MGM Grand now, I believe. So if anybody
Park MGM.
Oh, my bad. Park MGM. So is that different than the MGM Grand?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
I'm excited, man. I'm like, the Resorts World was cool, but I'm like, I think Park MGM is going to be good.
So Park MGM is where you and Drew and I and maybe Billy was there. We were playing blackjack late night one night. This was back in the NamesCon days.
Okay.
I think you guys stayed there one time.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's the one connected to Aria. It's right
Got
next
it. Oh, yeah. And then there's also a suites option at the Nomad.
Yeah.
So definitely get your stuff together for that. I know it's months away, but I know if you can get your tickets in your room, so there's some really good, the team's put in a lot of work to hook that up. So that's going to be a really, really good and fun event. So definitely looking forward to that. Also, speaking of events, even more recent coming up is going to be NamesCon, which is happening in Miami. So we talked about this on the last show. And to hit everybody with the detail real fast. Went to NamesCon, which is available. Might be worth picking up. Anyway, so it's November 5th and 6th. It's in Miami. It's actually kind of like not on the Miami Beach side, but it's in the like north of downtown, almost in Wynwood.
Looks nice.
And what's that?
It's a nice area, right?
Oh, dude, it's super cool. And I think the actual location, like the place that they're having it at, is really, really neat. I'll tell you what the place is called because I think it's real cool.
It's Marriott, right? Yeah.
Well, the Marriott Marquis is where we're staying. The event is I don't know, Ice Palace Studios. So that's the it's like a really cool venue from what I can tell. I've never been there before, but we were just in Miami. There were actually a couple of places in that Wynwood area that we wanted to go to, but we were staying in South Beach, so we weren't exactly going to get over there. But it actually is going to work out great because there's a couple of spots that we got to go check out. There's like a really cool indoor like mini golf bar, cool place that we'll all get to at one point. Maybe you have to do another escape room. We did an escape room at the MediaOptions event, and we succeeded in escaping. So Slavic was there; he participated. So if y'all, he wasn't the comms guy this time, but Shane, I still talk about how funny it was when, and I'll leave it at right after this. But we go to do the escape room, and it's a bunch of us, and they, and we had to wear these like tactical vests, and some of them involved specific jobs. And Braden got the job that was he was carrying the explosives, and then they put on the vest for Shane, and they're like, and you have the detonator. And they're like, sir, you got to stop hitting the button. Sir, stop hitting the button.
I was like, I got him.
It's not working. He's still here.
Yeah, we've all tried to detonate that one, but
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
here.
That was good. That was good. Shout out to the squad. We escaped. We did it. Anyway, but yeah, but again, for the domain space, there's a lot of great stuff happening, and we've got a couple really great events, and NamesCon's coming. It's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely get to namescon.com. You can also you get a 20% discount on the ticket price if you want to use our code, which is DS20. DS20 will get you 20% off. So and that's going to be here before we know it, followed by the ICA event, which is also going to be great. I'm excited about both. And so just, so everybody get on it. Otherwise, to the audience, thank you guys for tuning in. For the 4 or 5 of you maybe that are still listening or watching, we appreciate you riding with us through this. This was great. And guys, I appreciate you guys being on here. We covered a lot of ground, man. This was great. And we all got to talk. So this was a special day. This was awesome. Josh is like, I spoke more on this show than all of the combined shows that I've been on with Drew. But shout out to Drew too, and to the audience. Thank you guys though so much for tuning in. As I say in every show, without you, there is no us. So thank you so much. Holler at us if you need us. We're not hard to find. And otherwise, we'll catch everybody next time here on Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Peace out, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.